Welcome back on in, everybody, to episode 31 of the StricklyNFL podcast. Back again with my co-host Desmond after a great week of Giants football. We also are going to have Luca on the podcast today. You know him as Knickstape. How we doing, boys? Before we get any further into the podcast, Desmond, how we feeling?
Pretty good. It's a good victory. What's today? Fucking Wednesday? Yeah, Victory Wednesday, baby.
Yeah,
We're
that's
rolling.
the great part. The great part about being a fan is that you can't just enjoy it for one day. You can enjoy it for 6 days.
Oh yeah, all week long.
Luca, how we feeling, buddy?
It's been a while, man. It hasn't been, but it's felt like a while. The Cowboys game took a lot out of me. I was expecting a lot.
Yeah.
Feels good to be celebrating a good win over a good team for a week.
Absolutely, and especially one that we kind of seem to more or less maybe own over the recent past.
I might have predicted it over the weekend. I might have.
Maybe you did. I wonder if you are as good as predicting as our friend Luca is over here. You can get in on the action at BetOnline Sportsbook. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Like I said, if you know how to predict the future, like my good friend Luca over here. If you think you know your stuff, you can get in on their $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game is over, head over to the online casino and get on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with over 150 slot games. Yes, sir, you heard that right. So head over to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. And, of course, it's not just football, right? We got basketball starting up. We got the Mets absolutely scorching and the NLDS against the Phillies. We got the Yankees who, honestly, since the Mets became good, I pull for the Yankees, man, because especially they're playing against the Royals. Fuck the Royals.
Yeah.
Fuck the Royals.
Fuck the Royals. I totally don't have a
New York
Royals hat in my
postseason,
closet.
baby.
Fuck the Royals.
It's New York postseason.
Having a Royals hat does not mean that you're a fan, Des, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's true. I got a fucking Diamondbacks hat on right now.
But with that, not only was it an eventful week for me, as I said, being a Mets fan, but the Giants won. The Jets had a brutal loss. And some other news that I think we should probably start off with Coach Rob Saleh getting fired. I mean, I got to wear this one because I came on here and I had them for my spread 'em lock this week against Minnesota.
Yeah, you sure did, buddy.
Yeah,
you want to know who picked Minnesota?
I forgot who
I did. I picked Minnesota because you know what? If there's one thing I've learned through 5 weeks now, don't ever doubt Sam Darnold. That man has done miracles on me through 5 weeks. And yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say. Eat shit.
Eat shit, Con. Eat shit, Aaron Rodgers. Eat shit, Rob Saleh.
Yeah.
How about that one?
Gosh. I mean, what was the report that he was going to fire Hackett? And they were like,
yeah,
why don't you take a seat?
I think Rodgers was like, why don't you take a seat?
Yeah, no, I don't give a shit what that dude says. He absolutely got him fired.
I think the original report was not. I don't think Hackett was going to fully get fired, but I think he was going to get demoted, to a significantly lesser role in the offense.
Yeah, that's the thing. They brought in Downing to be. I forgot what exactly his role title was, but it was something of an offensive assistant or, whatever role gave him a second in command kind of position.
Passing game coordinator,
sure. And they had, I don't want to say kind of like stale offense when he was in Tennessee, but it wasn't necessarily a good offense. So even at the time of the hire, I was like, this kind of isn't inspiring because your non-creative OC is just going to be followed up by like a non-creative passing game coordinator if he gets fired. And I feel like that's kind of what is going to be playing out with this team. Like you fired Saleh, you promote the DC. What is going to change philosophically with the franchise right now? Maybe, there's been some internal struggle with like Saleh and every other coach. That doesn't seem likely to me, but it's a shakeup, and people are going to feel the kind of the tension in the room when it's not Saleh walking in there to address the team. So maybe that causes some change, but I just feel like when you're an organization that's run pretty much by Rodgers and friends at this time, there's not much that like changes, how you run your day to day. is Jeff Ulbricht's voice going to be loud enough to drown out Rodgers after he just got promoted to the interim head coach role? Still probably not, man. And if the Hackett, Aaron Rodgers, Rob Saleh kind of power struggle was real, Jeff Ulbrich is not usurping anybody in that, in those talks. So it's kind of disappointing to me, honestly. And I'm kind of running along with this now on myself. But if they had such a lack of faith in Saleh to fire him after 5 weeks, not going through a proper head coach cycle this offseason is a massive blunder for this franchise. You could have kept Hackett, and granted, it's kind of tough because you'd be forcing him on somebody, but you could have come to terms with whoever you wanted to hire as head coach and been like, hey, we believe in you. We fully, want to have you here long term, but we do have Aaron Rodgers, and he has worked with Nate Hackett before, and we want to give it a shot and see how things played out. Now you've just fully Plexico Burr shot yourself in the foot with this stuff.
Yeah. I just think these types of things, especially for teams who have expectations like the Jets do, I think doing any sort of drastic in-season change, especially if you're going to do it in season, obviously the best week is the bye week, right? So you can give your team a little, the longest amount of in-season time to get acclimated under the new or interim head coach, new structure, whatever. Doing it almost felt like, I don't know. It felt like there was a timer or something that went off, and then it was like, oh, week 5 in year 3. Is this year 3? Was this year 3 of Saleh?
I think this is offseason 5, year 4 for Douglas, and then year 3 for Saleh.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they just picked a week to fire him, right? I know it's a bad loss, but I don't think this is the type of loss where it's like, if you're going to do a full reevaluation, do a full reevaluation. I don't know if it was necessarily the type of loss where you have to be like, okay, we have to get this guy out of here immediately. Going back to what you said, Kon, I don't think there's going to be a philosophical change. And I don't think they made the head coaching fire. I don't think they fired Saleh in order for there to be a philosophical change. I think they fired Saleh so that things could be more smooth between Rodgers and the rest of the team, because the reality of it is just Rodgers is going to have a lot of control on whatever team he's on. And we saw it going back to the offseason with the Jets this year. We've seen it in games maybe it was 2 weeks ago or the week before this Vikings game for the Jets. The sideline, whatever you want to call it, between Saleh and Rodgers.
Oh, when he had that kind of shove on Saleh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
there have been signs. People who have been following football have known that this stuff always comes up in Rodgers teams, unfortunately. I just think there was a better time to do it, man. I think you have to probably just wait till end of season, get rid of Saleh and Hackett. Rodgers is going to have to be okay with it. If he wants a GM, he should retire in GM. Right now he's an NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It makes me feel kind of like when LeBron goes to a team, right, and they kind of sacrificial lamb all the young players and picks and all that shit, and LeBron is probably better at basketball than Aaron Rodgers is at football, and it's also way more of a one-person sport, right? So that's why he wins chips. Yeah. But you're not they had Randall Cobb playing for them last year, bro. Actually, and
yeah.
That's not good. That's not good at all. So when you look at that stuff, you brought up a point earlier with how the offense isn't going to change. The defense let up 16 points in this game, and if Rodgers doesn't throw a pick 6, they win the game. So what is there when Rodgers is talking to Woody Johnson, because we all know this happened, and they even confirmed, they were like, oh yeah, we talked yesterday, but it wasn't about Robert Saleh. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, it wasn't about him. What do you tell Woody Johnson to get him on your side? Yeah, bro, I threw 3 interceptions, and one was really bad, right? It was a pick 6, and the other one was also really bad. It ended the game. but it's not my fault, man. Like it's
Man,
obviously
it's
Rob
close.
Saleh's fault.
Yeah, get him out.
Get it? Like that must have like I don't know if it's Rodgers talking like sweet to Woody Johnson and getting him to like kind of come over to his side, or if Woody just wants to be on Rodgers' side because he's the biggest star they've had since God knows when, Joe Namath probably.
DeBrickashaw Ferguson.
Yeah, that's actually it's Nick Mangold actually is.
Oh, I forgot about Nick Mangold.
Always got to respect the centers. Come on.
Yeah.
But this is just a shit show, man. And the one thing that I will put on Saleh is we talked about this a little bit last week, Des, between like the attitude of the players and stuff like that.
Yeah.
These guys lost that game to Denver at MetLife. Said, we all know we're the better team anyway, regardless of what the score says. They went to London. Every football fan who was awake is watching that game. All eyes on you. And they lay another egg. And it wasn't even the defensive guys who were saying that they were the better team that day. It was the offensive guys who lost them the previous game and lost them this game too.
Yeah.
So, to some extent, yeah, those aren't like Robert Saleh is more deeply intertwined with the defense, but those are still your guys.
Yeah.
And for them to be talking like that, after really since he got here, they've all been talking like that. Winning game, losing season, doesn't matter. They've always kept this holier than thou attitude. And they got Rodgers healthy. They got a boatload of talent. Honestly, they didn't even have stuff break wrong for them in this game. Like, the refs had some questionable calls, I would say 2 or 3. There was the one holding on Sauce, like in the red zone, that was really questionable. But this game was out there on a fucking platter. And all those guys who were talking, how they were better than the other guys and all this and that, they laid an egg again. So that I will put on Saleh. That is something that in his locker room he has to be addressing. Because how often do you see the Chiefs talking like that after a loss? How often do you see the Bills talking like that after a loss? We've won the division, I think, 3 years in a row or something along those lines. How often do you see, pick a name out of a hat, the Ravens talking like that?
Niners.
The Niners, yeah, like
they just lost to the Cardinals last week at home.
Yeah,
not that the Cardinals are a bad team, but like,
and they choked a double-digit lead. They're not saying, "Oh, we were the better team." They're looking in the mirror and they're saying, "Yeah, we fucked up that entire second half."
Yeah,
but this team will not do that for some reason. Whether it's Sauce tweeting about Aiden Ross on Twitter, or it's Bruce Hall quoting his highlights and stuff like that, it really feels like it's a rotten to the core situation. And I really hate that happened for Jets fans, and I hope it changes because this team is so talented and they deserve to watch a winner. And everything that they've put on the field just tells me they didn't take it serious enough, honestly.
Yeah. I just want to touch on the defense, the Jets defense real quick. Since Saleh's first year in New York, they've played the 4th most snaps of any defense over that stretch.
Goddamn.
They're first in points per drive, first in EPA allowed per play, and 3rd in success rate. The Jets defense is. That's over a 2-year, 5-week stretch of football in which they haven't had a QB for like all but 5 weeks of it. Say what you want about the offense. The offense is like the 23rd most efficient in football right now with the amount of talent they have over there. You can say what you want about Saleh, like needing to prepare the locker room. That's a massive aspect of it. I think it's on the players to execute, man. You talked about the talent. You talked about Rodgers back there. It's not like the O-line's horrible. You have Breece Hall. You have Garrett Wilson. You just can't be the 23rd best offense in the NFL with that much talent and these amount of expectations and this defense like backing you up. You just can't. It's basically like if you put points on the board, then the defense can win you the game.
I hate to make it kind of like a parallel with the Giants, but you've seen Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers be so far off of the same page through 5 weeks. And it kind of makes me think like, is this, kind of the result of Rodgers missing that mandatory training camp? Is it a result of him kind of taking extra days off because he's a veteran? Because this guy is, a 18-year vet in the NFL? right? Garrett Wilson is in year 3, I believe.
Mhm.
And these guys just, for some reason, when they have those, those option routes or those routes where they kind of both have to be on the same page in terms of reading the defense to know where the ball's going, they rarely connect on those. And we see the Giants, right, with rookie Malik Neighbors and 6th-year Daniel Jones or whatever. I think, is it 6th year, 5th year?
Yeah,
6th
6.
year, right?
6.
They walked into the NFL and he's peppering him with targets. And granted, his misses are because of accuracy and whatnot, but they're never off of the same page. They always know what they're running. They're always buttoned up. That, while I do like, that is another factor in Saleh getting the boot. Rodgers has to be accountable for that. Because, man, when Brady was in Tampa Bay and learning that system with new guys, he wasn't like, yo, Bruce Arians, get this guy the fuck up out of here. He was like, no, man, we gotta fucking, we gotta handle our shit, and the talent will then do the rest. It seems like bringing in Rodgers, having that attitude from before, none of these guys think that they need to put in this requisite amount of work that it takes to win. And that's just a common theme that keeps popping up.
Yeah. I mean, it's very cliche, but it's like you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't work hard, then it's not going to show.
Yeah.
You know what? I love watching Braylon Allen play though. I gotta say.
Yeah, that's my dog.
Braylon Allen, well, WVU fan though, not Wisconsin.
Yeah, but like, what,
God.
am I not allowed to like a fucking player?
Okay. You're right. My bad. But dude, Braylon Allen, I had some questions about him in terms of like how would he fit into like a vision heavy NFL scheme that relies on him to kind of manipulate defenders and whatnot. Those are totally put to rest, man. That kid is
He's
fantastic.
fucking killing it, bro.
Fantastic. And I wouldn't be surprised if with how Breece Hall's been running, that could get up to like a 50-50 split. And for as good as Breece Hall is, like
anybody in money leagues this year for fantasy, that's a good buy low. See if you can get Breece.
Yeah, I would lean like that. It's still going to be Breece at the end of the day because
it will be.
Breece is more talented, man. Like,
yeah, I mean,
incredible plays.
He's been a top 3 back top 5 since he's entered the NFL, I'd say.
Yeah, like adjusting for context, right? Because like he tore his ACL year and all that stuff, then he had to come back a little slow. But when he's been healthy, he has been that top 5 guy. And like I said a couple weeks ago, this other guy has not been a top 5 guy, Garrett Wilson.
101 yards on 22 targets is fucking crazy. I'm sorry.
I mean, like, this guy, people were jokingly posting about this stuff, but this is Wan'Dale Robinson production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not as much of a referendum on him as like really on Hackett, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, but this is like not the amount of juice we're used to seeing from him with the ball in his hands. Yeah. He isn't really like spinning out of tackles, breaking tackles, any of that stuff. Some of that is the lack of space that he's had when he has the football. But at some point, for somebody to be qualified as a top 5, top 10, guy who can win with as a number 1 receiver in your offense, those excuses just can't be made. Because at the end of the day, Malik Neighbors, there's not a lot of stuff around him either. And this is going to be the barometer because these guys are tied together. They're kind of similar players, similar age, similar draft slot, right? In New York, playing in the same city as each other. And it just looks different when Neighbors has the ball in his hands. And I think everybody can see that. It looks different right now when Drake London has the ball in his hands. And Drake London has a 40-year-old quarterback also coming off of Achilles surgery, just like Aaron Rodgers, right? So it's, at the end of the day, it's the 3rd time I'm saying this. I feel like guys have not put in the work. And I feel like that's just what it comes down to at the end of the day for this team right now.
I mean, it's a letdown for the Jets fans. I feel like I know I talked shit last time I was on here about Jets fans. I do feel bad because like I know what it's like to have a team with expectations and then everything just goes fucking wrong. I mean, that was last year's Giants team essentially,
Yeah.
coming off of a high upside year in Dable's first year, and then we have. I don't even know if we had expectations, but we were like, okay, let's see if we can match last year. At the very least, he would make the playoffs again. And then your home opener is a 40-0 loss against a division rival.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Do we think the Jets might need like a fun mascot like the way the Knicks and the Mets have? Like the Knicks now have claimed the Rizzler.
Yeah, no, they got that shit on lock.
They have claimed the Rizzler. The Mets have like 9 different memes.
Grimace.
Well, it's just Grimace.
On with them. Yeah. Like I was at the game yesterday and Grimace walked out holding the rally pumpkin with the Triple H theme song playing in the background.
Oh my god.
All of the Mets posts about Mania.
Oh yeah, with the tribal chief.
Tribal chief, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we need like the Jets have no good mojo. That's what they need.
Auraless.
They have no aura, bro.
Such a lack
No motion, no aura.
Yep.
No Riz.
Jets FC is down horrendous.
Who like the only aura they could bring in is Devontae Adams, man. Like if you trade for Amari Cooper, that's still like not any aura added to the aura meter.
Hey man,
he also had like he's fucking awesome. I love Amari Cooper. He's always been so underrated.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I don't know if you can look at that guy and be like, he's gonna bring some fun vibes to the team.
No, definitely not. But like with the wide receiver trade market stuff, I forgot where exactly, but apparently Dallas is kicking the tires and bringing Coop back, which would be pretty awesome. Honestly, like not for me as a Giants fan.
Would be nice.
Yeah. I just don't know. Like, dude, the Jerry Jones excuses shit with like we don't have enough money for this is so bogus and baloney. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be absolutely livid with that fucking bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this plays out. I do ultimately think that Devontae becomes a Jet, but
no doubt.
It's man, if I was a Jets fan and we don't get Devontae, I really don't know what are we turned towards? What is the plan going forward? Because Rodgers is not like gonna fucking accept Malachi Corley as this guy that's gonna change the offense, right? Like Corley's
maybe if he did, it would work better.
Maybe if he did, but Rodgers is not gonna.
No. I know that's what I'm like. It's this thing that sucks is the Jets offense has so much talent outside of just Garrett and Brees. And it's like Rodgers needs his fucking 32-plus-year-old slot vet to get in there and get the number 1 slot reps, or else he's gonna fucking kill himself.
So my fault. You were gonna say something?
I was saying, man, Rodgers is sitting in his room, lights off, high on shrooms every night, praying for Devontae. Like it's gonna happen, man.
he just got the shrine and he's like
exactly high off dick on shrooms, just praying.
He's like, I don't even care until you come over here, Devontae.
Speaking of Devontae and the Raiders, I have devastating news for the Gardner Minshew FC. He has officially been benched.
No.
So Aiden O'Connell is
yep, he's starting.
Holding Antonio Pierce's job in his hands.
Yep. I can't believe they benched Pro Bowl quarterback Gardner Minshew, man. Something funny?
That's
Something funny?
Insane. Something funny? Man, like, can you believe that Minshew Mania happened?
Yeah.
Bro,
I've been believing in that shit for so long now.
I mean, Tyler Huntley is a Pro Bowl quarterback.
No, that shit's so crazy. I remember when the Dolphins signed him. Oh my god.
He made it 2 years ago over DJ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that
was
happened,
such fucking bullshit. I'm sorry.
I was so livid because that was like the peak of, my belief in DJ. Because at that time I was fully like, re-sign him, like we'll try to expand off of this year, build off of this year with the concepts and whatnot. Keep him in house. And looking back on it, thank God he wasn't selected because maybe he would have wrung out a couple more millions on us if he made the Pro Bowl, dude.
Yeah.
Pro Bowl incentives, man. Oh man.
It just would have been like a bargaining chip for him with Mara at the table.
Yeah.
Last thing on the Jets, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it just doesn't get easier. Like, they have this week, I believe it's Monday Night Football against the Bills, right?
Yeah, the Bills. I do think they'll win that game.
At home. The Jets
Off
are.
of the
They're
coach
at MetLife.
firing, off of the coach firing, I'd hope they win this game, man. Because if not, then the season's over almost.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it on the NFL season preview pod a couple of weeks ago. I think Schwinn, one of his picks was Jets total wins over. And when we were looking at the schedule, like, they've already lost a lot of the toss-up wins that they probably should have had, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're looking back. I mean, you can't lose to the Broncos.
Vikings. At least Vikings, like, at the time, at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Before
You can't I mean, losing to the Vikings hurts. Actually, that's really it. Niners week 1 is like, you could chalk it up to week 1, but like.
But I
if you
heard a
don't
lot of talk
beat-
about how with CMC out, it was how are the Jets gonna lose now? You know what I mean? Like,
And they get fucking run over by Jordan Mason. I think he had like 180 on the ground or something by himself.
I think he had 2 touchdowns. I think.
My
Yeah.
God.
And like, if the Bills don't win this week, they have the Steelers on Sunday Night Football in Pittsburgh next week, which is, say what you want about the Steelers offense. Their defense is fucking phenomenal. That's not going to be an easy game, especially going into Pittsburgh. Then you have the Patriots at Gillette. If May is looking good, I don't know if that's like a chalk it up 100% guaranteed win either. And then you have the Texans and the Cardinals.
I highly doubt that May is gonna beat this defense.
I don't think they're going to lose that game.
But like, there's
But I don't think they're going to lose the Broncos game either.
that's actually really true. That's really
like they scored. I mean, similar style teams, right? Garbage offenses, elite defenses. They scored 9 fucking points.
The Jets got the ball ran on them in that game also by Javonte.
I'm going to look right now. The Jets allowed 126 rushing yards.
Yeah, and
in that game, and Javonte had he had 4.8 yards per carry. Jaleel had 5.1.
Yeah,
Damn.
and it's not on a small sample. This is a 25 carry sample.
Yep.
So you take out where Bo Nix had 5 carries for 3 yards, and that's 25 carries for, I'm doing that 123 yards. So that's 5 yards a clip from the running backs, right? Like, the Patriots offense, bad, real bad. They can still run the ball, and they didn't do it week 3, I think it was, against the Jets. But that doesn't mean that week 8 they won't do it, right? Like, teams are going to adjust. They're going to watch film. And it gets harder to do that after you've changed coordinators. They could play a little bit into them with potential changes that they won't have on tape for New England to dissect. But it doesn't, they don't just get a pass for that game because they held up well in the first game. They got to go out and do it again. And it's going to be on the road this time, right? It's not going to be a primetime game because it seems like the Jets, like, for whatever reason, they took that game serious, right? I guess prime time, or because it was New England, whatever the fucking case may be. But they've run out of margin for error already, because if they lose this Bills game, you're 2-4. You still have games coming up at Miami when Tua is going to be back, at Buffalo end of season, the Rams end of season when Kupp and Puka are going to be healthy.
Against the Texans, off the top of my head, in the coming weeks, against the Texans, against the Colts, against the Seahawks, sprinkled in there as well.
The Colts and the Seahawks, like, if Anthony Richardson's starting, man, like, I'm worried about him, man.
Yeah.
I'm worried about Anthony. I really loved him coming out of college, but there is a massive processing difference right now between him and whatever guy they replace him with. And granted, it's Flacco, right? Like it's Joey Cool, so he kind of is going to be a better processor than like 80% of quarterbacks, just based off experience and whatnot. But this is not the kind of thing that bodes well. Like, it's just like when Joe Flacco replaced Deshaun Watson. It's not like some magical, okay, just repeat what Joe Flacco does, kind of, absorb that stuff, implement it into your game. It's not that easy for these guys. And it's got to be worrisome as a Colts fan to see them kind of like really owning the short game when Anthony Richardson's out of there. And then when he's in there, they can only complete 50-yard passes.
What KD say? Wherever Joe Flacco goes, he's going to hoop.
Yes, yeah, which the only like good tweet Katie's ever had in his life.
Oh.
That and the bathwater.
I was gonna say, what about the bathwater one, man?